When Eddie Howe took charge of Newcastle United, they were in 19th place in the Premier League. They'd not won a single game and they had 5 points. They basically looked absolutely f***ed. But by the end of the season, they'd finished in 11th place. They had 49 points. They'd changed the way they played completely. They looked pretty good. The team that Howe inherited was mostly defending as a 5-3-2. This is remnants of Steve Bruce's team. This is the first lineup with Freddie Woodman in goal rather than Dubravka when they lost 4-2 to West Ham in the first game of the season. And they looked unfit, they didn't look very good at all, but they defended very deep. Like 3 centre-backs to try and make sure they've got defensive cover. Very few players allowed to really attack. They're trying to get forward with Almiron and Wilson and St Maximin if they can, but when they lose the ball, they get back into their shape. They don't try and counter-press or press high. They make sure they invite the team onto them so they can try and hit space in behind an opponent with their fast players. And it wasn't great to watch, basically. Howe's first team at Newcastle that he put out was against Arsenal, I would say, and they lost it 2-0, but we saw a completely different team. Now, Howe often played a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1 at Bournemouth, which is actually a 4-2-3-1 when you think about it, but I digress. So what you have is a 4-4-2. Now, the problems that Newcastle had, other than being mostly rubbish, was that they conceded far too many goals. In fact, in the year 2021, they conceded 80 goals of the calendar year, which is a record. A bad record to have. And what's better is since January 2022, they have conceded only 20, which is obviously half a year, so it's not the full thing. But the only teams to have a better defensive record in the Premier League are Spurs, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Man City and Liverpool. Basically, they've completely changed how they defend. But he hasn't done it by making them much deeper or more solid. He's taken away the extra centre-back and made them this 4-4-2 shape, which would eventually become a 4-3-3. But regardless of shape, what he's done is changed the mentality and how they press. We can see that with some numbers that show us pressing intensity. So this is PPDA, or passes per defensive action, and it's a metric used to measure the pressing intensity of a team. As you can see, right back here with Steve Bruce in 2019-20, they didn't press because they're trying to sit back, invite the team onto them and hit in the counter. A little bit of difference here. Back down again throughout lockdown, right down here. This is towards the dark days of the Bruce era. Graham Jones takes charge for a little bit of time and Eddie Howe comes in. There's a dip here when they're playing teams like Arsenal, Man City and Liverpool, so naturally you want to be a bit deeper because if you press high, you leave yourself open and vulnerable to teams who can pass the ball well going through you. But as he takes charge and changes things, up it goes to here. Pressing intensity is much higher. Now the effect this has on the defensive side of the game is clear. But what we also see is that they have more of the ball. So before Eddie Howe took charge, the average possession was about 37%, I think it was. And then by the time he'd finished, it was 41. Not a huge difference, but an incremental increase, and it includes playing a lot of difficult teams. There are games they've played where they've had the majority of possession, which is not something many Newcastle fans have actually really seen for a long time. Well, we can look at how this works. Now, if you engage a team here, like say he'd started the block here, the space for the opposition to get into is all in the wide areas. It's all here, in these sorts of areas here out wide. So that's where they'd have to go. So we see teams double up with a wide forward, maybe a fullback doubling up to try and get overloads and get the ball into the box this way. It stops them being able to play through you. There's no real lines through the middle. You can't get the ball from a midfielder through here because there's just no room. So teams have to work the ball wide, the block shifts, so it goes down or it goes up. It shifts from side to side to try and block the team and deny them any chances to score by doing this. But if you win the ball back and you're really deep like this, the distance to goal is massive. So if you're St Maximin, look how far you got to run to get to the goal. It's ages, it takes too long. And so you're limited to only creating chances on the counter, or maybe a set piece, something like that. But they're defending in this shape, higher up the pitch. So say a team is building out from the back, and there's examples from Liverpool and Arsenal where they've done exactly this thing. So rather than sitting deep and inviting the team on, they push high. Team wants to build out from the back. They're going to show the ball to one of their split centre-backs, like Arsenal did here. Now when the ball's here, Wilson will stand round about here to stop the ball into this guy. So he wants to stop the ball going in here. And to prevent the ball going here. So if he'll be ready to run across here, and all the runs they make will be bent, so it'll be like a sort of bendy run like this across. Let's try and stop the ball in to this guy and stop the ball into this guy. This is where he'll position himself. That forces the ball here. Joelinton won't run straight to this guy in a straight line because it's easy for the defender to then pick a side and go either side and get a ball out. Instead, what he does is make a curved run. And this means that he closes off the option of a ball, so Wilson will come across here to block this pass now. It closes off the option of the ball back to this guy. So just by going into that position here, it stops the pass across the box. It forces him to go here. So this is now not an option. This is the only option he's got because the curved run and the ball back to the goalkeeper is now not an option either. The ball then naturally goes to this guy. This guy has the ball now. It closed him down. This is now no longer an option because Joelinton's tight to him. So Maximin now, his job is not to go tight here. His job is to, again, bend the run. He'll bend his run around here to stop the ball back. This forces this guy wide, and then essentially the touchline becomes an extra defender because his only option here is to hit it forward over the top, and this guy can get in behind. Then you've got Lascelles making a covering run. You can kind of cover into here if it goes behind. It means that the defence has to be really organised, and as soon as this ball goes to here, Richie needs to step in front of this guy so that he's aggressively pressing, and they can slowly force this guy into making an error, and he clears it. And this is an example I've kind of borrowed from the game against Liverpool. They lost, but this is Joe Gomez, forced into a situation he doesn't want to go into. It's a pressing trap. He then clears the ball. Newcastle fall back. They win the ball. They can build. They're not under a sustained period of pressure. They're not inviting Liverpool into their own half. Did this against Arsenal as well, closing down Aaron Ramsdale constantly with a high press. They clear the ball, not able to build from the back. Newcastle have possession. That's why the possession stats are higher, because they're able to do that more. So by being more aggressive, you think Newcastle might open themselves up to conceding more chances, but they're not. They're far more solid defensively, and that's the thing they changed most of all. They do look for space in behind the defence, so if a team is trying to push them, they will often look forward now. It's very positive. I think this is an Eddie Howe thing, that he wants to get the ball forward as often as possible. As soon as they win the ball, they will look to get the ball in these sort of channels, or Richie might do it here. What they're looking to try and do is curve a ball and channel between the fullback and the centre-back for Wilson to run onto like this, take the ball to the pitch, and then they can start building from here. They want to go forward as often as they can to try and get the ball further away from their goal, so you don't concede as many. They're better in attack and in defence. Now, a big secret to making this work even better is by buying better players, and Newcastle certainly did that. They spent £92 million in the January window, but the players made a huge difference. Now, if we look at who they signed and why they signed them, we can see that they made very good signings indeed. So, Emil Krafth, out you go, he's gone. Kieran Trippier, La Liga winner with Atletico Madrid, England international, made a huge difference instantly. He brings things like leadership to the pitch, but actually on the pitch, he scores free kicks and his delivery is incredible. Scored the winner against Aston Villa in a 1-0 win. Set pieces are really important. Actually, of the 29 goals scored in the Premier League this season, I think under Eddie Howe, 12 of them are from set pieces. It's 41%. So Howe's put a lot of effort and focus into the small details, things like set pieces. He said that's how they thought he could get an advantage, and they have. Trippier's huge for that. His delivery is really important. And on that note as well, actually, on the opposite side, Richie's gone, and in comes in Matt Targett from Aston Villa on loan. So instantly improved their fullback position. You can get forward more easily, you can overlap with St. Maximin. Suddenly he had a capable fullback who can join in. Targett and Trippier together, 1.2 key passes per 90 for the whole entire season. The only players to do more in the Newcastle team are Alan St. Maximin, the key creator, and Matt Ritchie, who takes all the set pieces. Another player they got, Dan Burn. Lascelles was phased out of the team. In comes Dan Burn. Burn is technically a much better player, much more suited to building from the back. He's left-footed as well. He's also a local lad, has the right leadership, character, determination, that drive, the kind of things that Eddie Howe is trying to install at Newcastle, and has done actually. Chris Wood is also there. Bruno Guimaraes, key signing. Big money buy from Lyon. He's a Brazilian. Shelby, I think what will happen eventually is that Guimaraes will be the main six and they'll play alongside two midfielders. Depending on the game, you might have Shelby and Guimaraes, because Shelby's got a good range of passing and he's aggressive and you want that sometimes. But Guimaraes is just a great player. Can ping the ball anywhere he wants from deep, can dribble past players, can drive up the box as a box-to-box kind of midfielder. He scored 5 goals, which you wouldn't really think, including I think the goal of the season, the back heel flick against Southampton. Made a massive difference, but was phased in slowly. So I think good management from Howe. Didn't drop him in straight away to make him lose confidence or anything. It's all about building confidence and momentum in this Newcastle team. But if we're looking at new players and the ones they've signed, one of the most important things that they did this season was with Joelinton, who is now a midfielder. Yes, Joelinton is now one of the better ball-winning midfielders in the entire league. So this is what his FB ref stats bomb stats show us that he looked like as a striker compared to other strikers in the top 5 leagues. And he's rubbish, apart from things like winning the ball back, because he's a pressing forward. He was never a number 9, he was always a 10 or 10.5 or a wide forward who would press. That's what he did at Hoffenheim well, when people thought he was good before they signed him for £40 million now. Not unfairly maligned, he was rubbish. The ball would bounce off him, couldn't hold on to it, not really helping the team very well, didn't score anything at all. But he never went hiding, always showed for the ball, always worked hard, looked for it, and that's why his teammates must really like him, even if the fans didn't. But now look at this, he's a ball-winning midfielder now. This guy's really good at the things he needs to be good at, like winning the ball back, receiving the ball high up the pitch, so progressive passes received means he's receiving the ball in positions that allow progressive passes, so Newcastle can get it from back to front rather than being stuck at the back all the time. He's not great at distribution, he's not one of the best players at passing the ball or well, yeah, that really. But although these numbers will be skewed because he's played as a striker in some games, it's been very important for them as a ball-winning midfielder and sits in now as part of the midfield 3 that they play. So you've got, out of that 3, you've got a nice balance, which you didn't really have before. You have either John Joe Shelvey playing as a 6 or Bruno Guimaraes, someone who can distribute the ball and play make from deep. You've got maybe a box-to-box player in Joe Willock, he can get up and down. You could play Shelvey there as well, or Guimaraes there, and you've got Joelinton, the ball winner. So you've got a nice balance of a playmaker, someone who can win the ball, and someone who can get and join the attack. They're just so much better. You can see it in the way they play. It's like hard work, intensity. There's a clear identity there now. Maybe not tactically, but the intensity is there, and that's how they win the ball back, and they're just a much better team than they were. There's belief, there's hope. That's one of the things that Howe's put in place at the training ground. Apparently he's made the walls brighter, like he's painted them. It's very clever. Maybe we should do that here. But if you listen to what some of the players say about him, you can get the sense of what he's done on the training ground to develop how the players and the team has played as one. Martin Dubravka, the goalkeeper, has said, "The sessions are so much more intense, much longer. It was really difficult for the first 2 weeks to handle them. You can't imagine how much information we are given every day. We analyse everything. It's like nothing I've seen before. He improves everyone. So the standards are just way up from what they were. There's lots of analysis being done. He's changed standards around like the kitchen, what the food the players eat. You always hear this, so don't you? He's taking ketchup away, whatever. But he's changed the standards at Newcastle. They are better now. And Dan Burn likes him too. He says, "We do the same defensive actions every day. So on the training pitch, this is what they're doing, is repetitive drills of defensive shape and like defensive shadow play and making sure they've got the right defensive structure to be able to not concede goals, which is how they improve. Remember, it's not in attack that they're much better, it's in defence. So by repetition of training drills, they're much better. Byrne says, the way we're playing now is probably not how he, Eddie Howe, wants to, but he hasn't had much time and knew he had to make us a solid unit. That's what he did. He was pragmatic, focused on defending, the attacking will come. I think we'll see more of the more attacking flair next season, is how he gets more players in that he wants as part of his recruitment. I can spend more time in pre-season and just in training generally to make them more open, expansive if he wants, if he gets the right kind of players in. They're linked with a few. But you know, the real thing to judge how well they do is in looking at the numbers, and the underlying numbers tell us that Newcastle are just simply much better than they were before Eddie Howe was there. This is the expected goals for and against over time. So the blue line is expected goals for, the red line is expected goals against, and what you can see here is that they're conceding many, many more chances than they are creating. That's how you get relegated. That's what a bad team does. That's terrible, basically. You get a bit close here, they're okay, they're all right, and then we see finally they now create more chances for the first time in literally years than they concede. The underlying numbers tell us that this is sustainable, it's consistent. Newcastle are going up. They went from 19th place when he took over to being 11th. Got pumped out of the cup, sure enough, that's not ideal, but they'll get much, much better going forward. And there's a whole recruitment window coming up, and we'll see more people coming in who make them better, because better players are the secret. The transfers are very important, but the tactics and motivation and leadership and camaraderie that Eddie Howe's instilled in Newcastle has been a much better team, and that is Eddie Howe's Newcastle. So if you enjoyed all the things you've hopefully learned today, or disagree with, tell me which. Hit the like button, that's important, and subscribe. Maybe you haven't subscribed yet. Look at the subscribe button. Does it say subscribe? If it does, it means you haven't subscribed, so do that. But yeah, that's Eddie Howe's Newcastle. Have fun.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and Rafa Honigstein. There are journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.